During the octave of Pentecost, May 13 through 22nd, in 1212, King Alfonso VIII of Castile began gathering his army in Toledo to prepare for the campaign against Al-Nasir, the Almohad Caliph. The Archbishop of Narbonne, Arnauld Amri, arrived on June 3rd with many French knights. In addition to Alfonso's Castilian vassals, the army included Templars, Hospitallers, and the orders of Santiago and Calatrava. Arnauld Amri had more good news. On his way to Toledo, he met with the King of Navarre, Sancho VII, who'd also agreed to join. The kings of Leon and Portugal didn't personally join the crusade, but many Leonese and Portuguese knights traveled to Toledo to aid the cause. On May 20, King Alfonso rode to the gates of Toledo to warmly welcome King Pedro II of Aragon. Surprisingly, Pedro arrived with only a single knight. More of his vassals would arrive soon, but Pedro lacked the funds to finance his army. King Alfonso offered to pay to provision the Aragonese forces. The Christian coalition departed Toledo on June 20. Meanwhile, in Sevilla, Al-Nasir had massed a vast army of North African and Andalusian Moors and set out for the north on June 22, his sights set on Toledo. By July 3rd, the Latin Chronicle tells us that many of the French knights were complaining of the scorching summer heat and the fact that they still hadn't encountered Al-Nasir. Despite Alfonso and Pedro trying to dissuade them, the bulk of the French now picked up and headed back home. Theobald of Blazon, with around 130 Occitan knights, remained. The Crusaders continued their march south, advancing on the Puerto de Moradal. However, scouts returned with dire news. Al-Nasir was close, and now held the crucial pass of the Puerto de Losa. The Caliph's army was well situated and enormous, outnumbering the Christians by at least 2 to 1. Alfonso immediately laid camp and held council in his tent.
Enemy approaching, sir! He really looks like a general, doesn't he? Better still, he fights like one. Check your weapons, and now check again. He likes to get around. Look, man! Our general shares the I'll give him that. He likes to get around.
Pedro II commanded the Aragonese on the left wing. Sancho VII and the Navarrese held the right. The military orders and the Castilians occupied the center under King Alfonso, the Archbishop of Toledo, and Diego López de Haro. Before the Christians, the Almohad army was arrayed in its vast ranks of Arabs and Berbers. Al-Nasir held the rear, surrounded by his valiant Moorish bodyguard. When the battle began, the Christian front lines closed quickly with the Moors, so there was little time or distance for archers. The fighting was close and raged furiously all day. The Templars and the Knights of Calatrava made up the front lines and were hard-pressed. For a time, the Christians seemed likely to be overwhelmed by the superior numbers of the Muslims. Aragonese and the Navarrese carried out a pincer maneuver which threw the Almohad ranks into disorder. Alfonso and the Archbishop of Toledo execute a deep, penetrating charge with the Castilian knights. The Almohad lines collapsed, the Christian knights mowed down the enemy, and al-Nasir's troops broke in confusion. Thousands of Moorish troops lay dead on the field. The King of Navarre and his knights penetrated all the way to al-Nasir's tent, breaking through his bodyguard, though the Caliph himself just barely escaped with his life. The Crusader victory was absolute. The tapestry over the Caliph's tent was sent as a war prize to the monastery at Las Huelgas, where it can still be seen to this day. The victory at Las Navas de Tolosa proved decisive. The Almohad menace to the Christian kingdoms was ended. From now on, the Muslim states of Al-Andalus would be on the defensive. In the coming decades, the sons of the kings who conquered at Las Navas would capture virtually all the important Moorish-held cities in Al-Andalus,